So, tell me about this page. Why do we have it? And what will we know by the end of it?
On this page, we are looking at the child's single consonants, the consonants the client uses in the 3-word positions: word initial, word medial, and word final. Later, we'll look at sequences of consonants on another page, but for now, we'll just do the singletons.
I noticed this page has 2 sections. What's the first part for?
In the first section, we list the various consonants by word position, whether they match the target most of the time, are inconsistent, aren't there at all, and so on.
Oh, I see. So, would the second section help you pull out which consonants occur in 1 or 2 positions, but are absent in at least one other existing word position? Helping you figure out which sounds to use to build up word positions, putting acquired or old features and segments in new positions that already exist?
That's right.
But there are a lot of rows. Could we look at this page in more detail?
Sure. The first chart has 3 major columns: word initial, word medial or intervocalic, and word final. For each column, we want to find out which individual consonants are present. An English consonant inventory is provided at the top, but keep in mind not all segments occur in every position. You may find that the client is able to produce sounds in one position, such as word initial, but not elsewhere.
Right. So for Craig's data, we notice that M matches the adult articulation at the beginning of the words mouth and maw, but is missing at the end of the word. Therefore, I would record it as mostly matched word initially, but not elsewhere. So M wouldn't be recorded in the match row for word medial or word final position.
Exactly, Jeff. And that's what you can see on Craig's data.
All right, I see how the 3 columns word initial, word medial, and word final work. But tell me about the rows.
The rows allow you to categorize the client's consonants by their presence or absence or frequency. Sometimes you might put consonants in more than one row. For instance, if a consonant matches the adult target, but it also is used as a substitution for something else, it can be placed in both the mostly matched strength category as well as the present but not for adult target category.
I see. Looking back at Craig's words, for instance, the sound B is a match in brush, bib, and bee, but is also used for F in the word fish and fishing, and for P in spoon. That means Craig gets it when the adult uses it, but also uses it as a substitution. Therefore, I can put it in the mostly match row as well as the present but not for adult target row.
That's right. So here's a quick rundown of each row in the table. Row 1 is for mostly match or strength. In this row, list all segments that match the adult set or are, quote, correct. Remember, each word position must be calculated separately. For Craig, these are B, M, T, and N in word initial. Next, in row 2, we have inconsistent partial strength. This row is essentially the same as mostly matched strength, except that it can be used for segments that don't match all of the time. So we can see aspirated P there.
Yes, word initially. Craig matches P in the word page, but uses B instead of P in piggy. It's not a 100% match, but it is a match sometimes.
You got it! Okay, moving on to row 3, which is present but not for adult target. This row is for English consonants that occur in the client sample, but not for the specific adult target. Here we see P, B, T, D, word initially, P, B, M, T, Y, word medially, and P, word finally.
Okay, So looking at the data, for example, Craig uses B, word initially, for F in fish.
Right. Now on to row 4, which is for sounds that are completely absent from the inventory. In this row, insert sounds that the client did not articulate. A useful way of calculating this is to list all the consonants that weren't present in the 3 previous categories. However, consonants should only be entered here if you actually tested them. For Craig, these include F and S.
So Craig's inventory is actually quite limited. So if we were to look at the data, this row would be quite filled.
Good, and now for row 5. Here we have non-English substitutions, where we include any segments that are not part of the English inventory.
Craig's data doesn't really have any non-English sounds. However, he uses word medial and word final glottal stops, like in the way he pronounced cook or mouthy, which is not typical for English.
The next row is for sounds that were not elicited. With no opportunity provided to articulate a sound, it would be misleading to interpret its absence as a weakness for the client. This was a demonstration sample, so as you can see, many consonants were not tested. This is not a recommended assessment practice. Usually you would try to test all the sounds in all positions.
Yes, I see a lot are missing.
Okay, moving on to row 7, which is for frequent substitutions, or potential default segments. In this row, insert segments that appear to be used often as substitutions for the adult target. Such substitutions may also be observed by using page 6. Optionally, in row 8, you can list the inventory of features, which you will learn by practicing page 6. You can stop and fill in the page 8 summary of segments and features in the right-hand column if you are going to use that page to help with goal selection. We will return to that later.
The 3 columns of the second chart are meant for sounds that you may choose to target in treatment as word position goals. Each cell shows sounds missing in a position that were strengths in other positions. For instance, B was demonstrated as a strength word initially, but was only present as a substitution word medially. Therefore, B can be placed in the word medial cell as a potential goal to be targeted because its presence word initially suggests that the sound is stimulable elsewhere. We can also include inconsistent sounds and those that appeared for consonants other than targets. Essentially, if a sound is a strength or inconsistent in at least one word position, it makes sense to see if that sound can be moved to a new location as one type of goal. Because Craig has very weak word medial and word final positions in all word shapes, word position goals are going to be less important than word structure goals at this point in his development. We can use the information here, however, to help with treatment strategies, as we will see later.